Good morning, everybody. So welcome to our Imaco webinar viewers. I'm Julie. I am actually the newly appointed CEO of Imaco, and I am absolutely thrilled to be sitting in for Kathy this morning as the host of our Maternity Natural Healthcare webinar series for the very first time. Kathy, I've got some pretty big shoes to fill, but I am so excited and feeling pretty honoured to be hosting this special first as the interviewer becomes the interviewee, and I get to interview you. So welcome, Kathy. How are you this morning?
We're good. Welcome.
Yeah. How's it feel to be on the other side of the chair?
A little weird.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
In a strange way, yes. Well, the topic I am.
Good. Okay. Kathy, are we ready to get started? Should we wait for some more people to come in, or are we good to go, do you think?
I think we're probably good to go.
All right then. Well, we're here today to talk about your brand new book, Oh Mama, Perinatal Integrative Healthcare, Birth Practitioner Guide to Holistic Maternal Neonatal Wellness. But before we get into that, I'd like to just share a little bit about this lovely lady, Kathy Frey. So Kathy is a senior midwife who has been New Zealand's #1 best-selling birth, babies and motherhood author since 2005. She's the managing director of the motherwise.com resources, which provides resources and services for expectant mothers internationally. And of course, she is the inspiring and charismatic founding director of our very own International Integrative Maternity Healthcare Organisation, otherwise known as Imaco. So one of the advantages of being on the live webinar here is that if you have any questions for Kathy, you get to ask them. So type them in and I'll pass them on. So Kathy, you are a bit of a busy bee, and I have absolutely no idea how you found time to write a book, but you have, and it's wonderful. I've been lucky enough to have a look at an advanced copy, and I'd like to say congratulations for putting together such a valuable, practical and accessible resources for birth practitioners. I can see it being really useful in a load of settings, but particularly as a really valuable education resource to help practitioners understand what it is that their mothers may be doing on the other side. So Kathy, you're going to tell us a little bit about perinatal integrative medicine to start off with. Is that right?
Yeah, I thought I would just rapidly go through a slideshow that I've a talk that I've given a number of times, just really explaining what perinatal integrative medicine is, and that sort of that kind of goes into what the book's about. But yeah, so what I might do is just share screen here. Sure. Is that looking correct?
That's looking absolutely perfect.
Oh, cool. All righty. Yeah, so I'll just, as I say, I'm just going to whiz through some of this why are we not moving slides? There we go. Okay. So if we talk firstly about what is integrative medicine, which is a term I think most of us sort of know about these days, especially everybody watching here. So integrative medicine, or IM, is that modern healing orientated medicine that takes account of the whole person, including all aspects of their lifestyle. It emphasizes their therapeutic relationship between the practitioner and the patient. It's informed by evidence, and it makes use of all appropriate therapies. So at its root foundation, integrative medicine incorporates the use of both old traditional modalities and new holistic therapies, and of course modern medical treatments. So it's the combination of all of it, all that we've got access to. So then we'd sort of say, what is integrated maternity health care, which is so integrative maternity health care, specifically the perinatal or maternal neonatal segment of integrative medicine. So the crazy thing is that when we started this journey with IMCO a few years ago, there was actually no term that existed that could describe the integrative medicine division that specifically looks after perinatal time, which is kind of crazy, but there wasn't. So it's IMCO that coined the first phrase of integrated maternity healthcare or perinatal integrated medicine. So that's obviously when the medical and the holistic, this is the part of the definitions that we have at IMCO, but it's when the medical and holistic, the modern and the traditional, the allopathic and the naturopathic all respect how they complement each other to intentionally form a united revolution of cohesive evolution to create the ultimate and best maternity care. So in practical terms, an ultimate sort of integrated maternity healthcare situation can be witnessed at a perinatal integrated medicine styled antenatal clinic when care is provided by the medical obstetrician and a traditional midwife, and they've got easy access to multiple holistic naturopathic wellness therapists, including things like modalities such as herbalism, homeopathy, acupuncture, osteopathy, ideally all working together under that one roof. So there are clinics around the world that operate that way already, and that's what they're doing. That's what we really would like to strive to see available for, all women everywhere. So I'm just gonna whiz through this. Okay, so one of the things that I think is really relates directly to this part of the journey for us as women defining our needs in maternity is if we sort of look at the Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. So, we look back 300,000 years to 2 million years ago, and it was all just about our physiological needs. So, we needed food, we needed warmth, water, and rest. Then around sort of 50,000 to 500,000 years ago, safety became part of what we needed as well, which is that security, stability, and health. 10,000 to 80,000 years ago, as humans, belonging and being loved became important. So of course that's when we started to really see villages and communities and whatnot. So friendship, relationships, inclusion became part of our human need. Then 200 to 10,000 years ago, self-esteem started to rear its head, and that's when we really wanted to strive to feel that we've got those human needs of respect and recognition, status, strength, prestige, freedom, etc. But really, in just that last couple of centuries, self-actualization has really become part of our human drive and need, and that's that achieving the individual potential, creativity, and self-fulfillment. So if we just overlay that onto the millennial woman's reproductive needs, then if we go back and we could go into firstly the physiological needs of, that's we see that within birth as absolutely a fundamental right everywhere on the world, for a woman who is expecting a baby, that her food, her water, her warmth, and her rest, she should be receiving. And of course she should feel safe, have that security and stability and access to health. That's your basic entitlement. Then her feeling that she is belonging and being loved, she'll choose her health professional people and her birth support people if she can. And, that is something particularly, I think, from the 70s onwards, we've in the Western world, we've realized that this really does have such a huge impact on that journey for that woman, that she's got that feeling that she is belonging and being loved, and she has access to friendship and relationship inclusion, and particularly when you put her, say, in the birthing room setting. So then the next fulfillment of needs is again that self-esteem, that she wants respect, she wants recognition, the freedom to make her decisions. And a lot of that is now sanctioned in law within healthcare around the planet, which is fantastic, not in all places.
Thank goodness.
But, you know, it is sanctioned in law that this should be something she should regard as expected and entitled. And then, of course, we hit that self-actualization, and that is her planning to create and achieve and fulfill the maternal experience that she desires, i.e. her birth plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting, I think, when we do overlay that and, you know, realize that this is just what we're striving to do as women is really just part of these, you know, Maslow's hierarchical needs, but just in our journey of reproduction. Okay, I'm just whizzing through some of this because we don't have time to do the whole thing. So the mission statement that we adopted as the organisation, which sort of underpins my writing as well in this topic, is that it's a visionary aim for revolutionary maternity care, cross-discipline exchange of progressive research, innovative knowledge, enlightened experience, and radical ideas in a medically professional and universally holistic environment of liberal open-mindedness for the compelling passion to create a global impact by giving women worldwide access to triadic or body, mind, spirit, maternal neonatal health well-being, inspired by those values of humanistic empowerment. You know, and it's really, at the end of the day, it's about just maintaining that World Health Organization mandate that optimal health and well-being are inclusive of the physical, social, psychological, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of life. And under this environment, when you know, when we've run our symposiums and webinars like this, you know, it's that whole purpose is it's that opportunity of maternity health specialists, professionals of all modalities to be able to convene under that one roof, to connect, to communicate with each other, you know, whether it's midwives to medical herbalists or hypnobirthers to homeopaths, obstetricians to osteopaths, and, you know, every other therapeutic discipline in between. So if we go into the current definitions, CAMS. So again, I'll get to the book. So I just wanted to colour overview this, but
this is really important
CAMS,
background information, and I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. So the CAMS, the complementary and alternative medicines, also can be known as TNCMs, which is traditional complementary medicines. They're fundamentally the same animal, just by two names. And they can be roughly divided into 5 different subcategories. You've got your traditional medicines, which are things like your homeopathy, medical herbalism, essential oils, traditional Chinese medicine, Indian Ayurvedic, etc. Then you've got your mind-body connections. So that's things like meditation, spiritual healing, neuro-linguistic programming, music, dance. You've got your biological nourishment, so things like your diet, vitamins, minerals, supplements, body manipulation, so things like chiropractic, osteopathy, kinesiology, and of course your energy healing, things like Reiki, Qigong, pulse electromagnetic fields. And obviously a lot of these within these areas, they kind of cross it over between 2 of those areas or 3 of those areas as well. Okay, so I would like to challenge what we really term as mainstream type medicine. It just kind of, I find it personally irritating, because
Mhm.
mainstream simply is something that means what is normal and ordinary and conventional and used by the local majority.
Yes.
So, right? So, that,
Yes.
you know, what is mainstream in one country can be very different from what is mainstream in another
Absolutely.
country, right? Yeah. And then the word conventional. Well, conventional means what is usual, standard, common, established, and traditional. So again, that varies around the world. What is orthodox? Well, that means what is traditional, accepted, conformist, established, conventional, and again, mainstream.
Mm.
But which medicines are mainstream? That's the point. Depends on where you live, it depends on your beliefs, depends on local availability. And I just passionately believe that it is inappropriate for any one therapy of medicine to describe itself globally as being the orthodox, mainstream, and conventional medicine to all. That's not
Yeah,
the truth.
self-proclaimed.
Yes, self-proclaimed. Yeah. Um, so I think that we are well overdue for some definition updates. Personally, I think we should be we should have two definitions, and that would be something like TCHTs, which are the traditional and contemporary holistic therapies, meaning what many currently are referring to as the CAMs and the TCMs, which have historically focused around eliminating a root cause of disease.
Mm, mm,
And then we could have our MMTs, our modern medical treatments,
mm-hmm.
which is what hospital doctors currently refer to as conventional mainstream medicine,
Yep.
which has empirically focused on reducing the symptoms of a disease, not the cause. So, yeah, those are just some pet peeves.
Awesome.
Um,
Actually, I found recently, I was reading a journal article and I found this wonderful definition from the National Centre of Complementary and Integrative Healthcare. And they say that integrative medicine differs from CAM because it combines conventional and complementary treatments in a coordinated way. And I think that's what you're talking about there. It's the coordination between the two, therapies.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I like that word. Yeah, I like that description. It is. It's a coordinated
Yeah, and
situation, you know, because as this next slide said, pregnant women are not sick, but they're not of their normal health. Um,
no, that's right. They have very
yeah,
special needs.
yeah, they've got special
Yeah.
needs within this time, even under yeah. So even if they're not unwell, they still have special needs of health. You know, one of the that I love how you say that word coordinated.
Mm.
It reminds me of a situation here in New Zealand where under our what we call ACC program, which relates to when people have accidents. You know, I remember 30 years ago that chiropractors and osteopaths and acupuncturists were lobbying to be part of the accepted modalities of treatment for accident recovery. And these days they are and have been part of it. So, you know, if you, for example, I had an ankle injury a while ago where I received a letter from ACC saying, you know, this is your code. If you wished to utilize any acupuncture or osteopathy or chiropractic care, this is your code that you can book it in, and that is part of your
Wow,
coverage
that's
of ACC,
fantastic.
which is fantastic. But
Mm-hmm.
the stupid thing, I guess, is that we know that those therapies are also very, very helpful in pregnancy and
Mm.
in the postpartum, and getting ready for labour and birth. You know, we know that acupuncture, for example, and moxibustion are things that help for turning a breech baby. So we know that impacts. But we don't have a code system that we can give our pregnant woman and say, here, go see this acupuncturist, because we know that that can help with, so it's that sort of, as you say, coordination between it. It's like within non-pregnant unwell people, we're beginning to be more accepting of naturopathic therapies, but we've still got this hesitancy on maternity health, which is kind of crazy. So I think that's the end of that I wanted to go over. So so that's just a little bit of a definition of.
Great.
Yeah.
So I guess that it helps. What we're trying to do is kind of bring together the choices that the birthing mother makes about who her care team is going to be, and help to improve the understanding between the practitioners within that care team, so that they can provide their support, but they're doing it in a way that's really mindful of the other types of treatment that the woman might be getting, or the other types of support, and most importantly, her choices and her wishes.
Yes. We know that research shows that around, it doesn't seem to matter what countries or demographics or poverty versus richer countries, but all around the world, there generally seems to be around about 2/3 of pregnant women will use complementary therapies during their pregnancy. That's high, right?
It is. It's very high. Yep.
Yeah, and bearing in mind that the definition of complementary therapies does include vitamins and minerals, which is kind of crazy, but it does. Anyway, but so 2/3 of women around the world will be using that, and I would say that most of their caregivers don't have a clue.
No,
that
they're using it.
Yeah. And they could be like me when I was pregnant with our babies. This was before I was a midwife. They're young adults now. And I didn't tell my caregiver because I was frankly not interested in their opinion. They were a medical professional. I knew they were not a naturopathic trained medical herbalist. So I'm like, why would I be going to them to ask them if it's safe to take this when they've got no training in it? So how would they know? So I was really interested. And I think that as mums, when we're pregnant the first time, often it's the very first time in our life that we really start to think holistically. And whereas before that, we kind of, I don't know, let's say you have a hard night and you have too much alcohol and you've got a bit of a hangover. Well, you've done it to yourself. So you've paid your own price and you're kind of prepared to do that, right? But when you're carrying a baby, you're suddenly thinking, oh, look, everything I'm doing is impacting this unborn child. And I have to really think this through. I mean, obviously you're not drinking alcohol, but I'm saying that it's everything. You're going, you suddenly are like this precious vessel and you think, oh, but that fruit's not organic. Should I be eating that? Should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? And one of the things that I think is unfortunately very confusing within the naturopathic therapies is that they nearly all will kind of describe themselves as being helpful for nearly everything. And
I see that.
Yeah, and one of the benefits, when we are pregnant or we're a new mum looking after a baby, is that you can kind of go to this doctor and they go, they'll tell you the diagnosis and they'll tell you the one treatment or whatever. And because if you are trying to do this for yourself, it's like, oh my God, I've got, say for example, I've been diagnosed with gestational diabetes. What can I do that can help that? To help minimize it, to help stop it getting any worse, to maybe even potentially recover from it. What can I do? And well, practically everything will say you could do it. So you could, you know, you could go to the acupuncturist and you could go to the medical herbalist and you could, but there's just, maybe you can't afford to go to all of these different things. So that was kind of, I guess, a way, a part of my motivation to write this book was to be able to make it a really easy handbook reference, specifically for the birth practitioners, because they're the ones that the women are asking all these questions of.
Yeah.
And they can't all have been studied every different modality. So and also you've got women themselves who are out there, and I don't think that it's appropriate that they're referring to sorry, I'm turning my phone sound off. I don't think that it's appropriate they're referring themselves to Dr. Google to find this stuff out.
Yeah, I
right?
totally agree with that. As a naturopath myself, and particularly dealing with pregnancy and the perinatal period, it's not the time to be doing Dr. Google. It's the time to be using these really well-trained professionals that are very passionate about what they do and are able to support you in a really safe and therapeutic way.
Yeah, and very educated. You know, I mean, you've done you know, 4 or 5 years at university, you know, training in these things. How on earth is a mother to be going to gain that knowledge reliably? But at the same time, what I didn't want to do was write an enormous textbook, because obviously it could be an enormous textbook and like a whole series of them, you know, and it's like, so I just wanted it to be, my goal was to keep it under 200,000 words, which is still a stack of paper like this when you print it out, but it's not when it converts into a book. And so I can show you a preview copy.
It looks wonderful.
This is it. And shall I, maybe I'll just go through the sections of it?
Yeah, I'd love you to do that. When I was going through it, I actually found the layout really, really wonderful. The 4 different sections, it just made sense. And I love your introductory, your introduction was very passionate and had a very important message to deliver. And I found your section on the therapies to be a really valuable introduction to all of those therapies. So please do take us through the structure of the book and how it's all put together and what we might find in there.
Okay. Yeah, that's just, I'm cool. That's cool. I'm stoked with it. So I'm just going to go through the index myself. Okay, so basically, there's, you know, at the beginning, you've just got your standard author's note, preface, introduction, etc. And then you head into the first section of the book. So yeah, the book is in 4 sections. So the first section of the book is basically an overview of therapeutic modalities and their wellness supportive properties during the childbirth journey. So, and then the second section is basically pregnancy or pre-pregnancy and pregnancy. Then a third section is labor and birth. And then the 4th section is the postpartum and neonate. So that first section, which is an overview, is basically what I do is I go through, I'll just run through them because they're literally just in alphabetical order. So acupuncture, acupressure, moxibustion, then Ayurvedic medicine, which is Indian herbalism, Bach's flower essences, which includes rescue remedy, which a lot of people have heard of often, Bowen therapy, chiropractic, essential oils, aromatherapy, homeopathy, hypnotherapy, massage, osteopathy, reflexology, Reiki, shiatsu, tissue cell salts, which is mineral therapy, traditional Chinese medicine or TCM, Western herbal medicine, which is mainly sort of out of Europe, and then just general points to note. So within those, if I sort of hold up a page, that might make it, a little easier. So say, for example, if we look here under acupressure and acupuncture, so it'll say, what acupuncture and moxibustion can treat, but not limited to. So then I'll say the main things that they are known, particularly relating to the maternity journey, as to what they can benefit. So that first section of the book, the overview of all those therapies and modalities, is just, I guess it's really designed to just understand the difference between them, the things that they're particularly useful for, so that, this is a birth practitioner's guide, but it's so that, I guess, when, mums say, oh, well, what would you suggest that maybe I do? And the birth practitioner, even though they haven't perhaps studied osteopathy or chiropractic or something, they would know the difference between the two and be able to kind of refer on that, or etc. So it's just giving those overviews of those main therapies that relate to pregnancies.
Right.
And
Kathy,
then,
can I ask, what kind of modality would you refer women to most frequently?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I would say definitely acupuncture and medical herbalism. But to make it easier for women, I would often say, it doesn't particularly matter which strain of or a line of medical herbalism, be it Indian Ayurvedic or traditional Chinese or European. I was sort of like, look, it doesn't matter. Like whoever's like in your neighborhood or who you've got access to that's a trained professional, because they nearly all will have remedies that do the same thing, but they might be different remedies. So definitely medical herbalism of any modality, and acupuncture. I think I'd have to say that they would be my top two, as far as helping to improve the disease of pregnancy. Would you agree?
They're actually my top two as well. As a naturopath myself, who loves her medical herbalism and refers to acupuncturists, I think that's pretty close to what I would say.
I mean, look, it's wonderful to be, and there are certain things where a particular other therapy might really stand out. But I would go so far as to say that, if you can, afford to go out for dinner every so often, and buy a new dress every so often, and go to the movies every so often, if you've got that's basically spare money, then your priority in pregnancy absolutely should be seeing a medical herbalist, and preferably an acupuncturist as well, just part of your wellness, not waiting until there is disease that needs to be assisted. And and there's so, if you're looking at buying new equipment for your baby, and you are saying that, yes, you're going to buy the new pram and the new cot, but you can't afford to go and see an acupuncturist or medical herbalist, I'd say you've got your priorities screwed.
Have a bit of a think about it.
Bearing in mind, your second baby's going to have everything secondhand. You're not buying a new cot for them. The two things that you absolutely should buy new for a baby, I would put my foot down, would be a new mattress. They should have their own new mattress, and they should have their own new car seat. Because we did, but that's a whole other topic. But anyway, apart from that, the baby doesn't really care if everything else is secondhand, and they really don't care if their nursery has been painted or it's got old wallpaper. What they do care about is whether their mother has to get induced because she's got preeclamptic toxemia. Which might have been preventable if she had invested in her wellness earlier in the pregnancy. So I get a little passionate, as you can get a bit groggy on that one. So then when we go into the sections of the book of the pregnancy, and within the pregnancy, we talk about there's a section on, or we call it a section on preconception wellness. Then there's your routine pregnancy care, and then there's the common discomforts of pregnancy, which are a huge long list actually.
Yeah.
Until you've been pregnant the first time, you don't realise that there's so many things that can go on physiologically, where your midwife or obstetrician will just go, yes, that's normal, that's common. And then you've got the pathophysiology, so that's the disease of stuff in pregnancy that is not regarded as normal. And then, so importantly, labour and birth preparation. And if you don't know what we're talking about, labour and birth preparation, so we're talking about partus preparatus, medical herbalism, etc., to prepare the uterus and prepare the cervix for labour. You really want to find out, because that's probably the most valuable thing you can be doing to help your baby have a non-traumatic, non-dramatic birth. Okay, and then we go into intrapartum, so that's childbirth itself. I talk about the holistic preparation being the key. The 5, what I call my birthright kit, must have. So the 5 things I think every woman should.
Would you like to share?
Yeah.
Would you like to share your top 3?
Well, I will. Let me just get to that. So we rehydration. Well, I'll just give you the 5.
Okay.
Yes. So Bach's flower essence remedy. That's the so rescue remedy. I think is wonderful. I don't have time to sort of today to go into all the details as why, but you can look it up in my book. A homeopathic labour birth blend of tincture. In fact, I'd make that number 1. Electrolyte rehydration. So not just drinking water, but you can, if you are familiar with, I know you are, but audience, familiar with rehydration drinks, rather than just straight water, and certainly not energy drinks. Don't get confused.
Yeah. So you make your own, do you, or do you purchase
with rehydration, you potentially can, but you can also get rehydration sachets, which is basically giving you the electrolytes as well as water. Or some are sports drinks, not to be confused with energy drinks.
Yes.
So, because it is like running a marathon.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then my other 2 favorites are lavender essential oil. And there's various ways that can be used, and also music.
Very simple, and
and actually, just talking about music, it's in my book, but anyway, if anybody goes onto Spotify, and they can look mine and my husband's play membership up, it's just Mark Kathy Frey. It's pretty easy to find. And there's a playlist there called Childbirth, and anybody's welcome to it. And
awesome.
It's and it has literally had hundreds of my own clients have that playlist playing in the background. And unlike a lot of childbirth playlists, it's not it's not full of kind of bird tweeters and whale song. It's, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that this really takes you through the latent labor as well. So it's I'm not sure how long it is. It's very, very long though. And I can tell you, I think I've only had 1 or 2 labors in my entire career that went longer than the playlist.
Wow. Okay. So, I can't wait to check that out.
But it's great because as women, like often women put together their own playlist. But why I think my playlist works so well is that it's a very eclectic blend of music, and the fact that the woman has not put it together herself makes it almost like she just doesn't know what's coming next, and it's a little bit of surprise each time. It's also a great playlist for just like doing other stuff like painting or anyway, so those are my 5 picks. So we digressed. Other things,
great.
then I talk about the therapies that are very useful for the first stage of labor during the latent, the first stage of labor during the latent phase, and then the first stage of labor during the active phase, including the advanced active transitional phase. Then we talk about the therapies that are useful during the second stage, or the pushing part of the birthing, which is if you're a mum listening to this and you're not familiar, that's why we talk about labor and birth, because labor is the cervix dilatation and birth is the actual pushing of the baby, getting the baby out. And then we've got the third stage, which is the afterbirth, or the placenta and membranes in control of bleeding. So we've got a lot of therapies that are very useful there. And honestly, midwives particularly, especially our home birthing and birth centre birthing, look, most of those midwives would know a lot, be familiar with some of these therapies, but there certainly would be some things in there that perhaps even the most experienced hasn't heard of, because I didn't write this book on my own. I obviously went to a lot of very specialist experts to glean a lot of information from them as well. And then we also talk about the complexities and obstetric complications that can be in labour and birth, and the things that can be used there, and those that are obviously complementary, very much therapies alongside the obstetric medical management of those complications. But often, when you have access to both, have that coordinated, love it, that coordinated integration is when you just get a better outcome, or a quicker improvement kind of thing. And then the last section is the postpartum. So really that first 6 weeks, and that's divided into 2 sections, into the maternal well-being and the neonatal well-being. And then there's sort of conclusion stuff at the end of it. So that's it. But we've already it's already been out to a number of different leading world-renowned kind of experts in their field, and so that's cool. That there's some pretty neat testimonials coming in on it. So that's really lovely.
Absolutely. I've actually got a quote here from Professor Robbie Davis-Floyd, who says, Kathy Frey is a global thought leader on integrative maternity healthcare. This introductory overview guide is a pioneering breakthrough right out there on the cutting edge. A copy needs to be in the back pocket of every midwife and obstetrician. So big words from a big person, and I absolutely agree with him.
And that's very, actually it's a her.
Oh, sorry.
But it has been great, and I mean, just the context that I've got through IMCO have been very helpful in making sure that each section, I would draft it with a lot of assistance, and then make sure that I've got all my facts straight as well. And so it's taken a couple of years to write it, and I am pretty excited. So it's going to be it's just having some final tweaking on pagination and things right now, but it's I think there was what was that email from the publisher that they're going to, I will have a listing code that I get that, and anyway, in the next day or two, those who are registered for this webinar will get the information about how they can get a copy of it. And so it's what I'm stoked with is it's not big, it's not a huge book. So it's enough that it is just a handbook, you can put it in your birthing bag, and definitely the women themselves. It is designed for birth practitioners, but I've made sure that it is able to be understandable by non-medical
Yeah.
professional people as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the
I
women
found it
themselves.
very
So
accessible.
say, for example, where there might be a medical term, I've put in the layman's term as well. So it might say hypertension, but then I'll put in brackets high blood pressure.
Yeah.
So that just because I wanted it accessible for the woman.
Yeah.
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 So they can be looking after themselves instead of relying on Dr. Google.
Yes. Which is awesome.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
really it. That's
It
the
is. I'd like to
yeah.
just actually wind up with a quote from the end of your introduction, because I just love this. You say the introductory overview guidebook is akin to 1 centimetre of cervical dilation within the spectrum of formally giving birth to globally recognised and respected perinatal integrative medicine best practice guidelines.
Oh,
So one of the things that
gosh.
I love about you, Kathy, is that you think big and you share these big visions, and you make it sound like it's so achievable. And so if we're finding ourselves here at 1 centimetre dilated, what does the postpartum look like for you? Just very quickly, I know we've got to
Yeah.
finish up,
Oh,
but
my big vision is that, I, I can't see it depending on the age of daughters, but uh,
mm,
my own daughter, yeah, it's not happening in her birthing lifetime, but hopefully her daughter or daughters,
mm,
if she has girls, would be at that point where it's just commonplace,
mhm,
where it becomes absolutely routine, where you go in and see an obstetrician, say, and they go, oh gosh, your blood pressure's up a little bit, you're not actually hypertensive yet, but it's starting to climb, and we want to get on top of that. So look, I'm going to give you this referral so you can go and see this acupuncturist, and also I want you to see this medical herbalist, because we
mhm,
know that that will improve things for you. And that's, nobody thinks it's weird, nobody thinks it's odd. In fact, it would be improper not to make that available to women.
mm,
I guess that's where would be my postpartum, where it's so normal, where it becomes normal for obstetric medicine to have papers within their university studies that gives them very good in-depth overviews of these other therapies, so that although they can't call themselves, a qualified naturopath or a qualified osteopath or whatever it is, but they have a very good grounding and understanding of these different therapies, so that they feel they can make an intelligent comment on them. And yeah, I think it's just that coordinated blending together where it becomes absolutely normal, and where it gets to the point where um, I think midwives are already doing this. We already think holistically. We already band together often in a clinic where there are other therapeutic modalities that are in that clinic
mm,
that we work with and we
yeah,
refer people to. But we're not doing that in the hospital, and that's nuts. It's just silly,
yeah,
and we know better than that.
yeah, yeah,
We know better than that from research. So, and I think it will happen, and I think it's going to be driven by women themselves demanding it, but also I think our millennials who become obstetricians will also drive it.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I
you
think
do
they will
see
too.
the difference between the old ways and the new millennials that are coming through.
Yeah.
I noticed a difference even with the 10 years between my first 2 children and my second 2 children.
Yes, that would have been
Manage,
very interesting to see those
mm,
improvements of
yeah,
open-mindedness.
Absolutely. My last birth was almost completely hands off with the midwife. I said, "Oh, do you want to see how dilated I am?" And she said, "Why would I do that? You're obviously doing very well. And I think you look like it looks like you're trying not to push. You can try and push if you like." And I was like, "Oh, so different to the first one that said, 'Oh my God, you're pushing. Stop. I've got to see how dilated you are.'"
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
So it's fascinating,
It
you know,
really
or
is.
the idea of what became abnormal or what was normal, back, say, in my mother's day, the days of having an enema. What did they say? High, hot, and a hell of a lot. And that was no, and shaving
Yeah.
down there, that was absolutely normal. And and now we would think that that's
Yeah.
archaic.
Mm.
Yeah. So it is those changes, that evolution. So I know it's coming. It absolutely is coming.
Yeah.
And but the crazy thing, I guess, about all of that as well is that this book is like rare. Like, this is one of
Mm.
the I know of only two other books on the topic. There are books out there that talk about maternity relating to a particular modality. So
Yeah.
you might be able to come across,
Yes.
say, acupuncture in relation to maternity or whatever, but
Mm.
guidebooks that do multiple modalities relating to the maternity journey, I know of only two other authors that have written.
Mm.
And Denise Tyron, which is a lovely guidebook of hers. It's her and my style is quite a different writing style.
Mm.
Hers is a more academic version. Mine is more. I will state. I will cross into the political spectrum sometimes on things.
Yeah.
And also Irene Chain Kalinowski. She's done some amazing textbooks that are particularly relating to homeopathy.
Mm.
But they're big, and you can't sort of carry them around in your birth kit, but they are certainly
Yeah.
something that should absolutely be available in every university that's teaching midwifery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Amazing books. And yeah, so kudos to her. But apart from that, I don't know of any. There's none. So it's not like you can really shop around and go, oh, which particular book will I get? There isn't any, which is
No.
nuts. And that's another thing. I'm bleeding, but that's another thing that probably in another 20 years from now, there'll be loads of books on it.
Yeah.
And yay. So bring it on. Bring
Bring
on.
it on.
The more literature that gets written on a topic, the more authenticity
Yeah.
and more validity it gives to that topic.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, you might have to write a book.
I would like to. We'll give it a couple of years. We'll wait for the kids.
Yeah,
Kids to
wait till
get
the
just
kids
a
get
wee little bit older. Um, well, Kathy, thank you so much for picking up this mission, this mantle, and carrying it, and doing your best really to get this out there and to help foster a sense of understanding and coordination
Yeah.
amongst the birth practitioners out there. So make sure
Thank
that
you. Thank you for
yes,
volunteering to do this.
I just I find that your passion and your mission so beautifully aligns with my own. I still feel so so privileged to have crossed your path and have been invited to share this with you.
Oh
So
my God. Yeah. No,
thank
yeah, we
you.
need to give kudos to Julie here too, because she's yeah, what she does behind the scenes as CEO for IMCO is, I'm so grateful. I couldn't be doing what we couldn't be achieving what we get done without a great team. So thank you very much. But yeah, so there we go. So spread the
Cool.
word, and yeah, you and people will get all those booked to attend this will get an email in the next day or two, and that will give you a hot off the press brand new link on Amazon to be able to get yourself a copy.
Yeah, you'll be able to download a copy soon, and if you want to purchase a hard copy, it'll be maybe a couple of weeks wait. You need to pre-order, is that right, Kathy?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, thank you so much. I think it's time
Thank you.
to wind things up and for me to go and get my little guys off to school.
And thank you to those who were here today. So
Yeah,
spread
thank
the
you so
word.
much.
Spread the word, everybody.
Yeah,
And yeah, thanks, Julie.
you're very welcome, Kathy.
Bye, everybody.
See you later. Have a great day, everybody.